So y'all, look, right, I remember when I was in school, I'm talking about like elementary school. I mean, throughout all of my schooling years, I was a really good student, just like the goody two shoes of the goody two shoes. But particularly in elementary school, right, I mean, we talking straight A's. I was the mistress of ceremonies at our graduation, like all of that. I was the captain of anything, any accolades you can have, I had it, all of that. This is what's so interesting about that, right? Because I know I spoke about it before. I don't really speak about it a lot. I mean, I haven't on this platform, but you know, if you in my life, I've definitely talked about it. And that it even took me a while to talk about it then too. But I would talk about how I grew up in an abusive household, right? So I remember one day, or rather one night, my parents got into a big fight. And when I say abusive household, I'm not like, you know how people be like, oh, my parents was fighting. They just mean arguing. No, my parents got physical with it. And it is what it is. Like, you know, I hate that I had to go through it. I hate that my parents went there with it, but it's just life. It is what it is. So anyway, I remember that one night I'm a light sleeper because of this too. One night I was in my bed sleeping, and I don't know, my parents started arguing about something, and I'm down the steps. As soon as I hear some yelling and screaming, I'm down the steps. But I remember on this particular night, my mom had just, I don't know if she had just come from the grocery store or what was going on, but we had just got this that big bottle of the dishwashing soap, blue dishwashing soap, and he threw it at my mother. My father threw that shit at my mom and ended up breaking her ribs. You know, had to go to the hospital, do all of this stuff or whatever, right? So anyway, that happened the night that happened that night. So then the next day while I'm at school, I remember just sitting at my desk, and I have my head down, and all of a sudden I just have all these tears just streaming down my face. And the teacher's just like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying nothing, but I'm just like, you know. And I don't think I ever told any teacher what was going on. I was just quiet. I don't know if they ended up calling my mom. I don't know what happened behind that, but I know I didn't say anything about it. But anyway, what I find so interesting about how I learned how to process and handle those situations, and it wasn't a taught thing. It was like my parents, the stuff that I saw in my house happened so much. Not that I got used to it, but I had to learn how to, I guess in a way, get over it. Had to learn how to get over it because, you know, this is what happens. You got to be ready for the next punch. You got to be, I don't know. I just had to really be ready for it, to the point where it was another time where my parents got into it. This time, however, I really do believe that my father was trying to kill my mother. And I thank God for my Uncle Tommy, my Uncle Eddie's best friend, because they were like out the car and everything when the situation was going on, who just so happened to turn the corner and he saw, like, you know, the car doors are open, like, what's going on? So I remember, and I had a bad feeling about my parents going to the store anyway. And I'm like, Mom, why are you about to take this nigga to whole nother store? Anyway, so when my aunt came and told me what happened, I remember, like, tears were just coming down my face. But I was just laughing. I could not stop laughing, y'all. To now where I think I do have like this, like one of my nervous tics or one of my tics is I will just like start laughing. It, again, it's just a way of just accepting and masking the pain, or, you know what I'm saying, just trying to deal with the stuff that's going on. Saying all that to say this. It is okay for you to feel the things that you're going through. But then you also need to remember that you have to pick yourself up. So while I had a lot of different situations to deal with when it came to me growing up in an abusive household, I also learned, self-taught myself, like, to you still got tomorrow though. You still got to get up and deal with tomorrow. So even though that day I sat there, and I think I had a spelling test that day and everything, I put my face down on my desk and I cried. My desk was so wet from the tears of me being upset from my mom getting her ribs broken. I still showed up at school the next day. Probably ain't go to bed till God knows what time. But still went to school that next day. Because I had to do what I had to do. I had to keep pushing. I had to know that, okay, this is something that happened. I learned it early on. This is something that happened, but you still have a life to maintain. And I was definitely, you know what I'm saying, proud of myself for being able to show that I wasn't okay, even though I wasn't really able to verbalize it. But then I'm still going to push forward. I'm still going to keep it moving. And you really just have to think about why we're put in the families that we're put in, why we're put in the situations that we're put in. We really have to pay attention to how that's really helping us function in ways that are healthy, helping us heal, helping us just become better people. But you have to do the work. You have to learn how to look at things and not feel all down and out about it just because it happened. When it comes to my life, I really truly feel like I have been through everything that a person could possibly go through, that like you should have just been broken by now. You should have been broken. I grew up in an abusive household. I have been in abusive relationships to the point where I had somebody, I had to talk to my teenage sons about this. I had one of my boyfriends put a gun to my head, a shotgun, y'all. That is crazy. Every time I think about it, that is crazy. Whew. Anyway, I've been through a whole lot of stuff, but you can't let that stuff break you. You can't let it get you off track of what it is that you really have to accomplish and what it is that you're really moving forward for. Because even thinking about that relationship that I had, that teenage relationship. Now, granted, after that relationship, 100%, I was completely like down in the dumps. I felt like I just, broken. I'm just a broken person. Nothing is going to make this change. I'm going to be hurt forever. Like, that's just what I thought, because that was where that level of hurt was for me. But then you have to realize, like, you're 17 years old. How is this situation still going to matter to you when you are 97 years old, when you 100 years old? Because yes, I am living to at least 100, y'all. So get used to the hey, y'all, hey, because I'm out here. But yeah, like, I really had to look at myself and be like, why would you sit here and be so worried about something that happened right now, but then you got this whole other life? It just means that whatever I had planned for that relationship, for the future, maybe we're supposed to get married, maybe we're supposed to get kids, have kids. In my head, that's just not what it's supposed to do. That doesn't stop what's supposed to be happening for me. You know what I'm saying? But I really learned how to, I don't know. I've always just been able to have a good balance between, being able to show that I'm hurt. Like, it's okay to not be okay. But then also being able to be like, you know what, this situation, no, that's not, it's not, I'm not going to be broken forever. This not going to hurt me forever. This not going to break me down forever. And that's key, y'all. That is so important. And I really just, I don't know. Like, you just really have to learn how to be thankful and appreciative of everything that you've gone through. And it's a weird thing to say, because like I said, I'm not about to sit here and say, oh, I'm so thankful that I grew up in an abusive household. I wish I had a different example of what a marriage should look like. However, that's not what I had. And I'm just thankful that I was able to learn how to still be the person that I am, regardless of what I've been through. Like, since I can remember, it's been that kind of household. So every day it felt like some kind of war. So even when it came to the boyfriend, you know, I thought it was okay. Not necessarily that I thought it was okay, but you know, you got used to a certain thing. So then when you get into a situation that doesn't look as bad as what you've been used to, you're like, oh, bet I can handle this, I can deal with it. And I'm just real glad that I am who I am, to know that you don't have to settle in any of this. You don't have to accept this as being who you are, and that's the takeaway from it. No, it was something that happened. Something that I can sit here and say, you know what, that did happen. I receive it and then I release it. Any negative, bad, whatever feelings that I don't want, once I'm done dealing with them, I release it and I let it go.